The difference between listing your house for sale the traditional way or getting a cash offer from a real estate investor. Guys, in this video, we are gonna break down the pros and cons of listing your house for sale the traditional way with a realtor, and we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of getting a cash offer and selling to a real estate investor. Are you ready? You stick with me, guys. At the end, I'm gonna give you the number one thing to look out for when selling your house in today's real estate market. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, guys, and gals, we're gonna break down everything you need to know, the pros and cons of listing and selling to a cash buyer. So let's first start with the listing side. We're gonna talk about listing your house for sale with a realtor. So listing your house for sale with a realtor, we're gonna go with key point number one, is that this requires a for sale sign in your front yard. Now, yes, you can say no to a for sale sign. I know some agents that are adamant they're gonna require it, but what I'm trying to say is that the whole neighborhood knows your home is for sale, right? You're advertising your house for sale. Everyone knows it's for sale. You have to have professional photography done. There needs to be photos of the inside, of the outside. If there's photos in your home, everyone's gonna see it. They're gonna see what your home looks like. And this is great if you have a beautiful remodeled house that you want everyone to see and you're proud of. I absolutely love that, right? You want all the neighbors to see, and that is gonna be key point number one when selling your house the traditional way, is that everyone's gonna see it. There could or could not be a for sale sign, but with that is also going to come the traditional process of open houses. So when you list your home for sale, most agents, they're gonna ask to do an open house. So your neighbors are gonna come by, you're gonna be able to get tons of buyers in the door. I was an agent for a very long time, and it was the number one way on how I sold houses. Did back-to-back open houses, got tons of people in there, got the most amount of money for it. And that's the next point when selling your house the traditional way, is you typically get the highest offer, right? You expose your house to all the buyers, everyone knows about it, you get to do open houses, you get to bring as many showings as possible, and you get the highest amount possible for your house. That's what we're shooting for when you list your house the traditional way. There's typically a lockbox or a super lockbox that you guys may have seen. And Adrian, what's a super lockbox? Well, a super lockbox, and depending on your state, they may call it something different, but it's a box that only real estate agents can get into, and you need an app on your phone. You have a code. It registers the agent that unlocked that lockbox, and your key to your house is in there, and they use that to get in and out to show the property, right? Or there's a combo lockbox, which if you're listing your house the traditional way, I would avoid that. I mean, the last thing you need is a whole bunch of people having the combo lockbox with the key to your personal house while you're sleeping. That just doesn't make me feel good, right? The Supra is great because you can turn it off, you can turn it on, you can monitor who comes in and out of it. The combo lockbox you can't, so just be careful there, right? See, giving you tips as homeowners when selling your house. Okay, so that we're talking about the lockbox, we're talking about the Supra, you got the for sale sign, everybody knows about it, you're putting your house up for sale, multiple listing services, which is great because the multiple listing services, also known as the MLS, this is where agents put all their houses up for sale in, is that syncs to Zillow, it syncs to Redfin, it syncs to all the major home listing sites where you can go on and search for a house. So that is the good thing, right? You're exposing it to everybody. When selling your house the traditional way, you have realtor fees. So you're gonna have realtor fees that are involved. Depending on your state, we're in California, so I'll talk about California for a second. You have escrow fees, you have title fees, okay? And then with those inside of escrow, you have notary fees, you have doc fees, right? If you owe money on your house, you're gonna have to order a payoff. So there are all these closing costs that you call it that are wrapped up into escrow, title, and all these little fees that you have to pay that is outside of the commission. So you have commission you have to pay for and the closing cost, okay? So you have costs that is involved. You may or may not have to do some upgrades and repairs to the house to get it show ready, right? What we like to call it up to selling standards. So depending on the house, maybe you got to do some landscaping work, right? And keep in mind, this is going to be 100% based on the other properties that are for sale in your neighborhood, right? People are gonna buy like for the most part. Unless you have a property that is way superior than all the other homes in the area, then you could get way more, right? That's where you see houses get above list price, right? Where, you know, above list prices, they're either listing it right below market and they're bidding it up, or they have such a beautiful house. They have, you know, it's way different than all the other houses in the area. And so you have a buyer that just says, I want this and I'm willing to pay whatever it takes, right? And that's when you typically get above list price, right? So there are repairs, there are things that you're gonna have to do to the house. It's gonna require time. It's gonna require resources like money that you're gonna have to put into the house or invest into the house and hope that you get it back when you sell the home. Okay, so we talked about the fees that are involved, the process that you have to go through, and then the time, right? It takes time. For the most part, I mean, I've sold, you know, quite a few dozen houses that sold in a day. However, when you look at the amount of houses that sell in a day compared to all the other houses that are on the market, it's always a very, 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 very small percentage of the houses that sell within a day. For the most part, it's going to take some time, right? And even if you did sell in the day, I would always ask you as a homeowner, as a home seller, did you leave any money on the table? I mean, that was really fast, right? And if you're gonna go that route, you might as well just take a cash offer, right? You're gonna do it that fast, right? You might as well let it sit on the market for a couple of days. So, you know, the time that goes into it, right? You typically have a 30-day escrow on top of the days that it takes to get into escrow, depending on where you're at. Let's say the average days on market is 30 days, and then you have 30 days of escrow time. So you have a total of 60 days from by the time your home hits the actual market, the MLS, 60 days after that, by the time you actually get your funds and you're able to move on with the next journey of your life. So, you know, there are all these things that take place inside of listing your home for sale, time being one of the most important ones, right? Is that it just takes much longer than expected. And unfortunately, if you have an agent that's not out there really pushing your house or, you know, really getting it out there in front of everybody, it could be really tough to sell. So, you know, keep in mind who you work with matters. You want to make sure that your agent's on it, that they're letting all the neighbors know your home's for sale. They're reaching out to the agents. They're doing open houses. They're really pushing your house to as many eyes as possible, okay? So that's the traditional listing route. Now, the next route is the cash offer route. Now, the cash offer route, if we were to look at versus, right in the middle, what wins right away is time and convenience. When you look at the cash option route, it literally just saves you time and it saves you tons of convenience. You're not having to pay all those real estate commissions. You're not having to pay all those closing costs. You're not having to pay all the escrow fees or attorney fees, depending on what state you're in. You're not having to put all the repairs into the house. You're not having to waste any time dealing with open houses, let alone letting anyone know that your house is for sale outside of that investor that you're talking to. So everything we've talked about on the traditional listing side, literally just scratch it when you look at cash option route. Sell my house fast, cash option route, go to a home investor. It solves all that. And typically, if it takes 60 days to sell a house, typically you're getting your cash within 7 days. You see, most home investors can close within 7 days. I mean, you do got to go through some title preliminary work before you close escrow, but for the most part, they can get it done fairly quickly. And so if you're looking for cash right away, this would be the best option. Or maybe your house needs some work and you don't want to put repairs into it. You don't want to go through all that stuff. You don't even have the time or energy or resources to do this. So why not just sell to an investor, right? Where they'll take it on. They'll take all the trash that's left behind. Maybe a tenant destroyed the house and it's going to cost you $10,000 just to get all the trash out. Well, don't worry about that. The investor will deal with that, right? That home buyer will take care of that. So that is, you know, when you look at the cash option route, it's taking a look at everything on the listing side and just eliminating it. It's just easy, right? You're getting a cash offer. It's super fast. You're no repairs, no commissions, no fees. And typically, for the most part, you choose the closing date. You tell us when to close and they close, right? So it makes it super convenient for you. Now, let's look at, you know, we were talking about the pros and the cons. Let's look at some of the cons when you look at a cash offer route. Well, you could be leaving money on the table because it's got to be a win-win for the investor and it's got to be a win-win for you. So it's got to be a win for both parties. So for the most part, if they're going to save you time, convenience, you don't have to put repairs into it, you don't need to remodel it, you don't have to do a trash out, well, that's going to have to play a role in the price, right? So you're more than likely not going to get the highest price possible when going the cash option route. You're also also not going to get as many eyeballs. Not everybody's going to see the house, right? Which is going to then affect the price. So those are some cons. And then another con is that you could possibly waste time. And what do I mean by this? And this is a warning. I don't mean to scare any of you. Just be careful who you work with. Be careful what home investor you work with, what home buyer you work with, because some of them just bait and switch you. You see, they're going to tell you one thing only to hold you up in escrow, to ask you for price reductions, to get you a lower price, or they may just not close at all, end up keeping you in escrow. So I don't mean to put any, I don't mean to scare you at all, but I'm here to tell the truth, and I'm here to be real with you, is that some investors do waste your time. And so it's important that you do your due diligence, that you look into them, you make sure they're reputable, you make sure they have reviews, you make sure that they're accredited with the BBB, and they're not here to waste your time. But it could happen, and I've seen it happen quite often where, a homeowner will go with the highest price possible from a home investor. And sometimes the highest price possible the highest price that they have isn't always the best price, isn't always the best offer. And they go with an offer that's $50,000 above our offer. And I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't take an offer $50,000 above everyone else's? However, when they do that, typically, about 99% of the time, these investors that offer so much more, they realize that they're off, and they end up coming back to the homeowner asking for a price reduction, wasting time, only to be at the price that we first told them or lower. So you got to be very careful when it comes to hiring the right home investor, hiring the right home buyer. And if you guys need any help, guys, I know just about every single home investor throughout the nation. I can connect you. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're in California, I'll buy the house from you, right? Just go to myhomesold.com down below. And if not, guys, you have your own home buyer, right? But I just want to provide some good value for you, want to help point you in the right direction. Even if we don't buy the house, let me give you some good knowledge. Let me answer some questions that you may have when going through this process so you don't make any mistakes, okay? All right, and then I mentioned that I was gonna talk about one thing to help you get a higher offer. And the number one thing that all homeowners make a mistake on by not getting the highest offer, is they do not tell the truth from the beginning. They do not tell home investors, they do not tell homeowners what was really going on with the property at the beginning. I can't count how many times we've said yes to a price and we've gotten in to do a walkthrough and there's a crack right down the middle of the living room. And they said there was no foundation problems, but there's a crack about this big on the floor going all the way up to the ceiling. Or we open up the plumbing and we realize that the tenants poured cement down the plumbing lines and they said the plumbing was in great shape. These are all things that we have to consider, and they have to play a role in the price if that happens. So how to avoid that? Just be 100% truthful and upfront when talking to the home investor about the condition of the home. If you don't know, just say you don't know, don't guess. Cool? All right, I hope that helps. All right, guys, as I mentioned, and gals, if you need a cash offer or you want a cash offer, go to myhomesold.com down below. Feel free to call us at the number that's listed below. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Love for you to hit that like button. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I'm a home investor and I'm also, I don't know if you guys know this, but I help buyers and sellers too. I was a real estate agent for a very long time. I still am, and would love to help you in your journey and or answer any questions. So, appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a great day. See you soon.